Okay, so are we live? Okay, so welcome back, you guys, to another video. So today's live topic is the tarot, which, ironically, is actually a world-renowned form of divination. So I wanted to get into that topic of tarot because a lot of people tend to fear the knowledge of tarot, and some deem it almost satanic and dangerous to deal with. But in all honesty, if you actually look at the tarot, it's not actually evil. It's not anything. Um, the tarot are just cards. That's all they are. Cards. That's it. That's all they are. So to get into a little history, I'm not gonna name dates because I can't remember all the dates for tarot right off bat. So I'm gonna give you guys like a brief overview. So tarot, if you guys didn't know, were first originally 52 playing cards, which were the spades, or what we now know today as spades, clubs, diamonds, and hearts. But in the 1500s, if I believe that correctly, 1500s, in Eastern Europe or in China, in that general location, they were just regular playing cards used by the aristocrats and bureaucrats. And it was a card game. I think they called it Tarochi or Taroch. Or was it Tarochi? No, Tarochi, the game of triumph. It was a poker game. Unfortunately, I don't know how to play Tarochi as it was played, but I somewhat use it like today's playing cards. But here I have my Universal Tarot, which this one was a gifted deck to me, and it's made by Lescarab. Very good deck, but I am missing a card from the cups, which I think it was the page. No, it was, yeah, the page, or the knife, out of the cups. So what is tarot? Tarot is actually a unique system of not divination, but it's the tool of the self, which many people think that tarot is just all about divination. And that's, although that is true to a point, it's not just for divination. It's for divining the self, to come to understand the self. You can basically call it like that roadmap of the self. And when Tarochi was out, or the Game of Triumph, you had the four suits. So you had the swords, the clubs, the pentacles, and the cups. So each one kind of represented something different. And if you really get into the in depth, if you're a tarot reader, you should know that the cups is the element of water, which represents the emotions, the emotional aspect. The pentacles is that of the earth, the physical, which is the material aspect. Then you have the wands, which is fire, which is all about that creativity and the creative aspect. And then you have the air, or the swords, which is the element of air, which deals in reason, the logical, which in Native American culture, in my tribe, if I remember correctly, one of the creation stories for this world is that we are five-fingered beings. So we have five senses, five senses of the body. So we have hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, and touching. But we also have five spiritual senses of the same things. But between each finger, if you see right here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 slots. So they used to call that the four bodies of the self. You have the emotional body, you have the physical body, you have the spiritual body, and then you also have the logical, the mental aspect. I think that's how it goes. It's been a while since I've used that, but the spiritual, the physical, emotional, and logical. Yeah, I think I got them. But those are categorized into these suits. And in tarot, the major arcana, which is the major secrets, reveals more about the self, the place of where we are. So, if nobody told you guys this, the major arcana are basically the archetypes, the human archetypes of ourself. So, if you really think about the tarot as it is, you have the first card, the Fool, which is the beginning. And tarot, in tarot actually, the Fool is the number 0, which doesn't represent any number. It doesn't represent anything. Hi, Jasmine. I'm good. How are you? So, in tarot, the Fool can either be the beginning or the end, but the Fool can fit in almost any other place. It just really depends on where the Fool is in his journey. So, in the major arcana, we would call this the journey of the Fool. And if it looks like I'm not looking at the camera, that's because I'm looking over here at my fairy door, where I always gain some form of wisdom through the fairies. So, the major one. Jasmine, I'm just talking about them explaining the tarot and what each one means, and then maybe I'll do a tarot spread for you guys. So, take the Fool, which is new beginnings. So the jewel, the Fool finally starts off on his journey. Then you have the Magician, where the Fool, if you think about it, finds himself, that male aspect, and he finds out how to wield the energies around him of the earth, air, fire, water, spirit, and all that. So he becomes the Magician. The Magician is starting to learn, but he's not yet there. And then you have the High Priestess, which is the intuitive, which would be the feminine aspect of the Fool. So the Fool in that instance learns about his feministic side, that intuitive side. He's no longer that logical thinking, but he's more based off that intuitive knowledge. And if you were to think that he would also learn to understand that feminine side of himself, which is all a part of everyone. Everybody has the yin and the yang, the male and female aspects, the light and the dark. And then you come to the goddess or the empress, which you learn about the female natural forces of creation. Then same thing with the king or the emperor, and so forth and so forth. And each one of these represents a different archetype of the human self, from going from the foolishness, the jester, if you will, the trickster, into the all-knowing and becoming one in the end with the world. And it's just finding your place with the major arcana. And if you're to use the major arcana by itself, you could figure out where you are in your path, where you are in your journey. And it just really depends. So let's say if I shuffle this a bit, and of course there's going to be a card fall out, and of course the card that's going to fall out is the Fool. But let's just shuffle this up real quick. So if you were to ask yourself, where am I at this current time in my path? I call this the... Normally I do this with all five different sets, and placing their sets accordingly to the directions. So if you were to do that, it would be called the elemental spread. and you'd figure out where you are in your path and where each of the material worlds or each element's influences impact your life. So shuffle this real quick. So, Jasmine, pick a number for me between 1 and 22. I'll use you as a quick example for this piece. So, if you were to ask, where am I at this current time? And then you just shuffle, you figure it out. So if Jasmine's still here, if you please choose a number for me between 1 and 20. I'll use you as an example. Let me put these in their perspective or respective places. So if she isn't here, I'm gonna randomly choose a card. So if you're to look at the major arcana, you're to find that missing aspect, and you're to ask yourself, what is it about yourself at this current time that you need to know? So it would reveal how you are at this current moment. So here you have the Hanged Man, and the Hanged Man, can be seen as searching for or looking in a new perspective, which the Hanged Man, similar to Odin, hanging himself upside down from the tree of life, Yggdrasil or Yggdrasil, to gain wisdom or knowledge, but he's also suspended, meaning things are going to slow down, things are going to come to a halt for now, and it's not the be all end all, but this is my own interpretation of the tarot. So the Hanged Man is all about changing perspective, seeing things in a new light, in a new way. Even if it's unconventional, it's still a satisfactory change. So you would see that each archetype represents a different part of us. So to be the fool, and you're to think as yourself as such, you're going to be thinking to yourself, what is it about myself that is holding me back? And you would pull the cards. So here you have, if you're to do that type of reading with these, here's the Tower, and everybody thinks that the Tower is all about destruction. No, it's not. The Tower is all about destroying that which is no longer working. Even though everything that you think is good has to come to an end. It doesn't mean that it's going to be the be all end all of the world. It's just what you built wasn't built on a sound foundation, and it's collapsing because it wasn't built correctly. So what is it that isn't working for you? So you have to kind of find what is working for you, and you have to rebuild it off of a sounder or a sound foundation, so that way you kind of build that support. And the Tower is kind of like everything around you closing in, but yet you're still willing to run the mile. And right now I'm not doing readings yet. I'm just going through the little pieces. So I'm not doing readings just yet, you guys. So I'm trying to explain a bit about the tarot and the different influences of the tarot and what each kind of one represents. So take for example, if you were to draw a major arcana. Angel. So take the major arcana. If you look at the major influences in your life and then you talk about the little stories of influences in your life, take the swords for example, which is all about fire, or my bad, air and reason. So each element has its own unique purpose. Everything in here talks about the mental state, the logical mind, the wands, the fire, the creativity, and how things are moving, the emotional aspect, the heart, and all that. And then the pentacles are the earth, the material world, the finances, and things like that. So if you take into account all of the elements into the major arcana, you're really going to start to see different things, and you're going to figure out that the tarot, even though it's good for divination, is also a very good tool for the self, because it helps you to kind of delve deeper into the hidden aspects of who you are. So you could do it the way I have it, which is all the different suits separate, and major arcana separate from itself, in the elemental spread, which it would be the major arcana in the middle, the pentacles furthest away from you for the north, then on both sides, the right would be the swords, the left would be the cups, and the closest piece to you would be the clubs, which would be the south. So that's how I kind of set that up. But if you were to really delve into the influences of yourself, you can start to understand the hidden aspects. Which, if any of you guys didn't know, the tarot wasn't just a tool for divination. It's actually a roadmap to the self, which I forgot what year it was that the major arcana came into being, but it was actually originally a tool for the self to help everyone understand themselves. But then a little bit later, it started to click that you could use it to understand everything else around us and to help other people. And it was quite interesting when that came up. But that's the basics, or the minor basis of tarot. So let me shuffle all of them back together. I don't like using the universal tarot, the universal tarot for readings, but I like to use them as like a tool for teaching and playing games. So with that said, you guys, let's see here. Put these up real quick. Okay, so here's my other tarot deck, and this one I like a little bit more because it's a little more kidsy and a lot more interesting when it comes to the child self, or the child aspect. So for some reason I can't see comments the way I want to. Angel A. For some reason my comments keep changing. Okay. I want to ask if my ex Virgo is regretting our regretting of our breakup. Oh, if your ex is a Virgo. No, I kind of realize this with Virgos, but they don't regret much. Sometimes they don't. But just to make sure, Angel, choose a number for me between 1 and 20. Choose a number between 1 and 20, Angel. Or else I'll just give you 13, which is actually the death card. I like to make card pulls a little bit more personal. Oops. One card. Oh, hell no. Scorpio with a Venus energy. Oh, shit. Very scrupulous. Okay. $13. Okay then, I'll do 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Huh. Angel. The very short answer is no, he doesn't regret it. That's the short answer. No, he does not regret it. That's as plain as I can make it. But the cards that flew out for you is quite interesting because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards which normally would kind of correspond or correlate to a certain set position, but for yours it's kind of spread out like this, which is quite interesting because I've never seen anybody's question like that turn into something like this. Normally it's kind of like a broken heart spread, and it's quite interesting because here you have the 7 of Cups, which is all about illusions. And here the 7 of Cups, even though it's all about illusions, it's influenced by the planet Venus, as well as the astrological sign of Scorpio, which to me kind of indicates that don't allow yourself to kind of fall into that illusion that he will be hurting, because it's only going to hurt yourself. Kind of like Coyote medicine, or Coyote the trickster. I'm sorry, I just got a lot of burps that want to come up, but oh well. To me, it kind of feels like trickster medicine, which is interesting because illusion, tricks, facades, things that aren't as they seem. Don't fall for your tricks. Don't fall for your own illusions. Don't put out what you want to perceive. Is basically what it is. But the Seven of Cups is that reminder that sometimes it's not best to keep thinking of the past when we know that we can move forward. And no wishing ill will on people, because that gets you nowhere. That just makes it harder to let go. So here you also have the sun. The sun. And the sun is basically what it states. It's ruled by the astrological sign of the sun, which is the Hebrew word of Resh, which I kind of forgot what Resh meant. Let's see here. And yes, I do have a very long miniature book on these minor pieces, which I find quite helpful when I don't know the meanings of a certain word. If I can find the page. Ah, here we are. So, Resh. Number 30, head. So, it's the enlightened creative state by the powers which is illuminated by the spirits through the ethereal plane. Oh, go figure. So, Resh, number 30. Number 3, change. So, the sun is all about illumination, coming out of the dark, coming out of that negative way or the negative mindset. And by the way the next few pieces are going to go, it's going to tell you that as soon as you let go, things are about to change, will change. Your biggest block would be him, because he's kind of undermining you, and he's keeping your attention in a dark place. He doesn't care. To me, it kind of feels like he's moved on, but you still haven't. And at the same time, you're still wishing ill will on him. So here you have the King of Discs, which is that determined energy of both fire and earth. So in Feng Shui, or Chinese mysticism, certain elements work together in harmony and can amplify certain energies. So fire and earth work hand in hand. And with the King of Discs, this person is very determined, very business-like to some degree, but is very prominent and very direct, very headstrong and very sturdy. But this person has a passion, which is kind of like you. Because if you keep looking at things with a dark passion, you're not going to get anywhere. At the same time, to me, it feels like, yes, he's moved on. Yes, he's doing something else. That's up to him. He's not a bad person per se, but he's no longer in your life. He's no longer worth the time. And all you have to do is simply let go. Which brings me into the fourth card, the Six of Wands, which is of Jupiter and Leo. Which when you have Leo in your state of being, it's gonna get very hot. I'll just say that. I've dated a Leo or two, but they're very passionate with what they're doing. So the Six of Wands is all about bringing victory and achieving what you desire. So what is it that you desire to do with your life? Because if you let him take up your focus, it's just going to hinder you way more than way more than what you need it. Because the past is the past. The more you focus on him, the more you're going to hold yourself back from achieving that victory, going forward in life. because right now is the time for you to make the investment. The Seven of Discs, Saturn, and Taurus, surprisingly, to make that investment in yourself, taking care of your life and doing what you need to get done rather than worrying about what other people are doing. He's no longer in the picture. He's no longer there. So you have to kind of get up, quit worrying about him and what he's doing, and just be you, do you, and just do what my friend Mo Sargi does. Live a little. And there's no need for you to continuously focus on him if he's not there. If you guys aren't together, there's no need, because the more you focus on that, it's not going to hold. It's just going to hinder you more and more. So as soon as you let go and you make that time and investment in yourself, here you have the ion or the aeon, which is the crown, which is actually the 20, no, ion 20, huh? This is not the crown, this is judgment, which is sheen, the Hebrew word of sheen, and the element of fire, which is all about advancing to a new stage. So only after you learn to let go and change your perception, you're going to be able to create that advancement. And there's going to be a lot more things that are going to open up for you, if that makes sense for you. And Angel. I'm so not used to doing live readings on YouTube. Let's see here. The only thing hold on, you guys. Okay, so before I continue, Depthy. Can you please Depthy or Depthy? Can you please choose a number for me between 1 and 20? Hi, Alina. I'm really not used to doing live readings on YouTube. I'm really not. The comments aren't always there, so I have to kind of get used to that. Depthy, choose a number for me between 1 and 20. Between 1 and 20, Depthy. And yes, Alina, I do actually do this for a living. Well, partial living anyways, part-time. Okay, so 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just one more for the hell of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Depthy. I decided to choose 2 different cards. Ooh. This is gonna be quite interesting. So, Depthy. I kind of forgot what your question was, so can you kind of put your question back up for me, please? I forgot what your question was, hon. Oh, whether your husband will come back and if he loves you and your child. So this really won't make sense, but I'll try to do what I can, because it's not gonna make sense, because it really won't make sense, especially with what you want. But there's no point in regretting it now. there really isn't. So, ooh, a moon with Taurus and Cancer, Sun in Virgo, with Flame and Venus. Oof. Okay, so Depthy. Oh, I miss Facebook. I'm not used to all these like creative YouTube names. I'm just really not. So the card you chose, Depthy, is the 8 of Discs, which is the elements of Sun, which the Sun is actually in Virgo, which is quite interesting because the 8 is all about being careful. There are certain things that you have to take care of, including children. But at the same time, here in the 8 of Discs, you see the garden and the pig and the person. I'm not going to assume the gender, but the person's just sitting there meditating and focusing on the books. And you would assume that he's focusing on the things around him. So that meaning of carefulness, or to be careful, is to bide your time. Take time. To me, it doesn't feel like he cares much, but at the same time, I'm not gonna say that he doesn't, and that's just because human will and the ability to have free will changes the aspect of the self, and it really depends on the person. But the 8 of Discs is also influenced by the 6 of Discs, which is the sun, or rather the moon, my bad, which the moon is with Taurus, which is that grounded energy and the earth energy and so much bull horns, if you will. Very straightforward and to the point. But the thing that doesn't make sense for the 6 of Discs is that it deals with generosity, giving back, and having that balance of both pieces, which to me, the first half corresponds to you, and that's seen through the Empress, the nurturing type, the motherly type, who's both generous and kind, but is always willing to look out for others and always tending to the crops or tending to life as in general. But because of that allows you to advance to a higher state of being, to becoming more of who you are. Which brings me into the final card for you. And this is the Four of Cups, which is the moon is in Cancer, and it's very, very much of withdrawal. So of course he's going to regret it one way or another, but at the same time, it doesn't matter, because he may regret it, but it's his choice whether or not he comes back, if that makes sense, Depthy. All you can do is just tend to what is in your life. All you can do at this current time is tend to your life, what's influencing your life at this time. This doesn't matter at this time, because if he's not there, there's no need to worry about it. Everyone is always focused on the negative aspects and the things they don't have to focus on. So is he going to come back? That's up to him. That's free will. I'm not going to directly say no, he won't, because he has free will. He can do what he wants, and it's not my place to kind of override free will. But there is regret. There is a lot of regret. But whether or not he comes back, that's up to him. And all you can do is be careful, take your time, and just tend to what you have in front of you. Because all that matters is you, your kid, and your current life. With everything else around you. There's no need to focus directly on him if he's not gonna come back, if that makes sense, Depthy. So with that said, I'm gonna end the live here, and I am going to put a link in the description to a page that I read on. I'm also going to leave my public figures page, which I also do live readings from, and all these other good things. So before I go, I have a little Sagittarius card reading. So I had the Eight of Wands, which is the Shift, the Mercy, and Sagittarius, or Mercury and Sagittarius. The Prince of Discs, which is pragmatic, earth and air elements. The Light card, which is all about revealing things that are hidden, secrets. The Four of Wands of success, Venus and Aries. So this message is for all Sagittarius. So the energies for all Sagittarius is about to shift, and things are about to get moving. So problematic events will arise, and it will be best to go with the flow like the air currents. Yet also help to remind yourself to remain grounded at all times, or you will get swept away. Many need information at this current situation. May need information on this current situation that is about to come to light, and can help lead you to great success in all that you do. So keep up with it, Sagittarius. You're going to have great success coming to you, but you have to keep going at it. And I kind of read this yesterday, which I written here because I didn't want to forget it. But that's the message for Sagittarius. So with that said, you guys, love and light, and blessed be.